a little bit, but we are now streaming.
Now nobody will yell at us on the Twitter that we haven't gone live yet.
True. Yep.
So
we usually
happens
get
sometimes, although it's not happening right now.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit like left out.
Well, no, it's only 9:01, so I think they'll be all right.
That's true.
Let's see. Let me do some Twitter stuff. Sherman, you got to keep them.
I have to keep them entertained. This is a spot where I really suck at because I'm not prompted. I have to generate thought all on my own. It's
like somebody who runs a show,
like somebody who runs a podcast that they've done 146 times and going on 147. Like, you can't run your mouth for a little bit. So what's Indy been like? Obviously, we bantered a little bit on the Twitter there, Matt, about the boost, the air boost for tomorrow.
Yeah, it's always cool to be an Indy. It's a lot of tradition. It's a lot of familiar faces. The culture is my favorite thing about it. I've always said that IndyCar is very similar to late models. They just go a lot faster.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So I saw your bottom 5. Where did Danica stack up?
Danica's actually been consistently top 15, top 10 on occasion. She should be a contender. She should be in the first half of the field. And if you can be top 10 with 30, 40 laps to go, you've got a shot.
Absolutely. So if she's able to do that, she'll completely prove wrong her statement about IndyCar being harder to drive than NASCAR, which will be funny. Some people will lose their minds over that.
Listen, this is driving me nuts. I've been telling people all week that, one, it's just different disciplines. But two, if she goes in and competes and contends at Indy next Sunday, it doesn't say anything about NASCAR. It doesn't say anything about Danica other than the fact that this is her more familiar discipline, and she's always had a natural skill set that lended itself well to Indianapolis. And I think NASCAR fans are way too easily offended, and they're way too easy to offend her because they don't like her.
Well, I was really just trolling you there because I agree on all fronts, and especially having been a very supportive of Danica in her stock car career. It's good. It's going to be a good story either way. I hope she does well.
I'm looking forward to it.
Look.
This is one of the. I love watching Indy 500 anyway.
Right. We're going to watch. Next week we'll have. We'll do our preview to the greatest day in racing, and we'll say then what I'll say now. The absolutely the best race of that day is the middle one. Mm-hmm. Indy 500 is the best race. And that's not always the case
6-7 years.
Every weekend to weekend. But for the Monaco 500, 600, Indy's been the best race for at least 5 years. I shut them up on that.
I was going to say, you blew their minds.
I didn't even say anything. I was like,
Boom.
What? Yeah, he always talks about all year long, the month of May, it's this glorious spectacle. And I think even if we were to have our first child on in the month of May, he would not attend the birth because he would go to the Indy 500. It's that important.
Well, it's so cool. You couple in, we got the horses running too. I mean, I'm not finally going to get it right when I say it. Actually on the audio recording, we're actually going to a real horse race.
Actually, have it this time,
and it's going to be a muddy mess, just like Kentucky was. So the favorite's probably going to win, which means we'll have a Triple Crown opportunity again.
Yeah.
I think that's what I was wanting to put in the show that I didn't was just 30 seconds on the Preakness.
Gotcha.
We got a full show though, by the way.
Oh yeah. It's a whole. This is probably the most notes we've had. This might be a page and a half this time. But I put a lot of stuff in. I put a lot of stats in that I wanted to make sure that I had.
Oh, you branding it up a little bit?
Well, no, there was just there was. I did as a matter of fact. So Weaver knows, but Cassie, once I say we're live now, I'll be playing that background music, and that you may not be able to hear it. I'm not sure over the phone if you hear it or not, but. Just stick with us, and you'll hear us do the intros and stuff, and we'll bring you on.
10-4.
All right. I'm about ready. Sherwin, you ready?
Yeah, I'm just finishing copying this. I'm trying to do it the slow way so I don't, sling up to, 4 episodes ago. Because that happens a lot, unfortunately.
Uh-huh.
I want your notes in mind always, because I'd like to see what you add.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we don't offer our guests the same treatment.
Oops, maybe one day we'll be professionals.
I don't know. I think it's always fun to surprise them a little bit.
True.
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Cassie, you ready?
I'm ready.
Weaver, ready?
Absolutely.
Here we go. We're recording now. Welcome, y'all! That's right. This is the Pregame Engineer Tailgate Air Racing Podcast, episode number 147. Today is Thursday, May 17th, 2018. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace, joining the PTM Podcast studio with Pregame Engineer Andrew Sherwin. What's up, dude?
I almost thought we quit podcasting or something because we haven't done this in
10 days.
10 days?
10 days, yeah. We did the Monday last week. We did Thursday this week.
Goodness.
We got some great guests on tonight. Before we get to them, y'all know how we start this thing. This podcast is sponsored by you. That's right. You go to patreon.com/PTM. Join the What You Drink Club for as little as $1 a month and get that free koozie. The best part is every cent in 2018, we're donating to sponsoring drivers. Join the PTM Posse today. Be a part of the sport you love. This week's show is brought to you by our official sponsors at the $5 and up per month level. That is Catherine Giggs and Ashley Stang, David Patterson, Laura Henshaw, Harry Bolzania, Mick Rose, Aaron Beard, and Robert Keplinger, Tony Salt, Colby McClain, Eric Kepner, Ryan Kiefer, Marion LeBest, Patrick Cleary, Jeff Brown, Brandon Crowd, Kathleen McDonald, Stacey Wright, Brandon Carl, Billy Workman, Rika Porter, Jumpy Bob and Les Miller, Jason Rudd, Tommy Witt, Mark Wiley, and Julie Bosley.
That's a hell of a list.
Woo! I thought that one was pretty smooth.
You did it good. There was no restarts there.
Yeah. That
no
was,
big one.
That one was a little better. I have my up days, my down days on those. Anyway, Sherwin, we already said it. We've got two guests on the show tonight. Those of you watching on YouTube, you already see who they are. We'll welcome them to the show. Our first guest, first time on the show. She's a writer for Short Track Scene and a TV star doing news reporting. She'll talk all about that. Our other guest is a PTM PhD who pretty much at this point needs no intro. We want to welcome to the show the NASCAR power couple, Cassie Fambro and Matt Weaver. Cassie, what's happening?
Hey, how's it going tonight? Happy to be on the podcast.
We are awesome. And Weaver, what's happening?
Hey, it's good to be home on the PETM podcast.
My man.
You know, you're right on cycle because the last time you were here was 10 episodes ago. So
there we go.
We're on the cycle.
I love it. Well, y'all know how this thing starts. Cassie, you've seen the show, and Matt, you've been on the show so many times. What are y'all drinking tonight?
Well, I've just got water right now because I'm actually doing this from work. It's the best phone line I could get to.
From work. We were talking earlier that she can neither confirm nor deny if there are
alcoholic beverages on the premises.
Site, but choosing to take the high road.
Well, Cassie, while I know you would love to be unique as a guest here with us today, but water is actually the most common beverage of the PETM guest repertoire.
Got to stay hydrated, unlike us.
Well, that's true.
Weaver, what'd you bring for us today?
Well, before I answer the question, I take umbrage with the fact that a TV station as high pressure and high stressed as I know that place to be for anyone who works in TV, how there isn't like a secret shelf of booze or liquor.
Off the record, Matt. Off the record.
Where's Ron Burgundy's quarters?
Yeah, right.
Because listen, there have been multiple NASCAR races that I have covered where once the Cup race is over on Sunday, someone comes wheeling in a big cooler, a big ice chest, and it's just carte blanche for the media. Whatever you want.
Oh man,
you got
at Talladega.
Absolutely,
Talladega,
you were
they
there.
wheeled out beer. I was there, and I was like, "Oh man, this is awesome!" And they just started. They opened up the fridge, and they said, "Get whatever you want." And I went in there and got Coors Light. It was awesome.
It's an industry that respects what we do tremendously. So, cheers to all the NASCAR tracks that offer that to this non-drinker. So, because I am a non-drinker, I'm actually going to give the most unique answer in the history of this podcast. I'm not going to give you a "what am I drinking." I'm standing over the stove here at the house that I stay at in Indianapolis. I'm going to give you what I'm cooking.
Okay.
You're going to get what Matt is cooking. Matt is cooking some authentic Indian pumpkin curry.
Oh my
Ew.
gosh.
What the hell is that?
It's something you can't make when you're home because I imagine it smells awful.
Is there
It does
meat
not
anywhere
smell
in
like
there?
something that you would approve or appreciate.
I was reading earlier that there's this that whole raw food craze thing, and
Oh,
somebody
yeah.
was like, somebody served me some raw pumpkin the other day. I about lost my crap thinking about just if you just set a pumpkin down in front, a whole pumpkin right down in front of me. Here you go. Here's dinner. You're like, are we? Is this a joke? Is it in the pumpkin? What's the deal?
What should I break?
Yeah,
with
am I
this?
supposed to carve it? What are we doing here?
Yeah. What have we gotten into? Sherwin, what are we drinking on?
Well, as usual, we're drinking our white label Jim Beam that you so graciously host. Although I may have picked this bottle up last time, I'm not sure. Little Coke Zero, and then I got my shrapnel left over from my North Carolina / Blue Ridge weekend.
Aha.
So I've got a cooler full of stuff from North Carolina, which is fitting because we are racing at Charlotte this weekend and next weekend. So this is a
Do
Foothills.
you guys like the Catawba Brewing up there?
Yeah.
I
Oh yeah,
love
I've had
them.
their stuff. Oh yeah, this one is a Foothills Brewing Hopium IPA. It's quite tasty if you like the hoppy stuff, which I do. I think
I've got a Wicked Weed. Speaking of North Carolina,
Yeah,
this thing
I
just
got
left over here, so I'm
Wicked
digging.
Weed here.
Oh, nice.
Napoleon Complex,
These are like
Also
two
got
different
some
visits to that same brewery,
Bold
too.
Rock,
Bold Rock.
hard cider.
Bold Rock. You know what, Sherwin? I had a Rolling Rock earlier this week
Oh,
for the first
man.
time in a long time. I remember
Trove, PA.
I remember not liking it before, and now
you like it?
I think that was 15 years ago, and I swore it off, and now I like it. So it was okay.
Yeah.
I mean, for what it is.
Latrobe's good. Corn beer. It's a rare deal.
Well, that's what I was telling them too, and they didn't believe me. And I was like, "No, it's that nasty corn stuff. Here, I'll order one." Then I ordered it, and I was like, "You know what? This is all right."
Well, what about Founders? Is now the time to talk about Founders?
We'll get there in a second.
All right.
I wanted to start with Cassie and tell us what you're doing. We keep talking about you as a TV star, and there you are.
Oh yeah, introduce
in
yourself.
Yeah. Let the PTM posse know what's up and what you're working on.
I don't know about star, but I am a
More than me.
I am a reporter here in Mobile. So I spent today all here at work, and my story today was about how there was actually a mom whose baby got stuck in a crib, like the leg of the baby got stuck, and she called 911, and they couldn't figure out where she was. So
Lord.
I did a story on like what was going on with that because some of the towers aren't connecting right and stuff. So that was pretty crazy. But the fun part about it is that she was not able to let me come take video of her baby. So I actually found Matt's sister and videoed Matt's nephew for my story today. So that was actually really fun to be able to
cool.
go over there and like literally put like his nephew's legs in the side of a crib and fake like get him stuck. It was fun.
So
Well, I saw you send that tweet out saying, "Hey, anybody with a crib, help me out."
Yeah, I was
need
like,
about
"Hey, can
15
I borrow a
minutes to
baby
film."
in a crib?" Like that's kind of what we do. We have to do sometimes. You have to make the story work and find the visuals that support it. So, not every day is trucks exploding on the interstate. Sometimes you have to kind of find the video.
the reenactment, I like it. That's
It was.
that's creative. That's very creative. And now, Weaver, your nephew's a star now, right?
Yes, he's a little ginger ball of love.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, this is actually my second one that my sister had, so they're both wonderful.
So
They call him Matt. It's really cute.
I've been up in Grand Rapids all week, just doing work up there and stuff. And two big takeaways that I had, and I want both of y'all's perspectives on both of these. So the first one is,
Okay.
I get up there and I go up to the budget rental car, and budget lady says to me, and these were her exact words. She's filling in all the info and stuff, and I mean it's for work. Work's paying for all this stuff, and so it's like the basic economy car, whatever. And they always ask me, "Are you okay with blah? Are you okay with blah?" I always just say, yeah, whatever. I mean, it's just me. I can throw I've got a small suitcase. It does not matter what I drive. So if they want to give me a smart car, who cares? If they want to give me a Jeep, who cares? But she said, "What do you?" She goes, "How do you feel about a Jeep Wrangler?" And I was like, "Well, how you feel about a Dale? Yeah, like give me that Jeep Wrangler. Yeah, I'm in. This is perfect." So I walk over, she gives me the keys, and I walk around behind the counter and through the garage. I'm at the very last stall, and as I'm walking, I see the Wrangler, and it is Barney the dinosaur purple. I'm talking about real purple. I took pictures and put it on Twitter and stuff. Y'all got to see it. Y'all can go look at my timeline or something, but it was hilarious. I start bust out laughing. I bring it in. I'm showing everybody. At one point, I take the top off and start playing country music real loud, rolling down the street and singing and pointing at people while I'm singing and just having a ball in my purple Jeep. Now, the second side of that story is that I had another coworker come in from Denver, and she is a car person. She loves cars and stuff, and they asked her the question, how do you feel about a two-door? And she said, I don't care, whatever. It's just me. I'll throw my backpack wherever. It does not matter, right? Same thing as me, right? I get the purple Jeep. Well, she walks out and has a 2018 Chevy Camaro SS that they upgraded her to.
Bullshit!
And she comes rolling up, and I'm going, you're kidding me. You're driving that. She goes, yeah, what are you driving? And this is my exact words. I said, I'm driving the most noticeable car in this entire parking lot. She goes, the purple Jeep? I said, it's the purple Jeep.
No.
So I want to know now, Weaver, that you're traveling some, and Cassie, I don't know how much you've done it, but do you have any crazy rental car stories? Weaver, I know you've got your own car stories that we've related here before.
Well chronicled.
Yeah, well chronicled. Wondering if you've had any.
I do have a rental story.
Okay, bring it.
So when I moved back from North Carolina to here, I didn't have a whole lot of stuff anymore because I'm one of those people, when I move, I just throw everything away and start over. So all I had was a rental van. And so I'm driving down. It's an 8-hour drive. I've done it many, many times before from North Carolina to Alabama. And I'm bringing my stuff down. And I wrecked the rental van because somebody pulls out in front of me. But I was smart enough to know that I'm not very good in large vehicles, and I got the full insurance. So, like, the whole front bumper is, like, hanging off. So I just drive it into Hertz and park it and, leave the keys. And they just had to deal with it. It was awesome.
This is your problem now.
I was like, here's your van back. I don't know about the bumper, but full coverage.
Oh, I love it. Weaver, did you mess up any rental cars yet? Or get the purple Jeep?
Yet. Don't jinx me like that. I've been fortunate in that in the year and a half or so since I've been able to start.
No. You got to tell the shoe theft story.
Which story?
We got somebody to call
when your boots
BS
got
on
stolen.
We got some coaching going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not really a car rental story, though.
I'll tell the story.
Okay.
You hush.
Okay. No. No, it's my damn story.
Then tell it.
This is I forget the word when you steal someone else's stuff. When you copy someone's homework.
I stole your thunder.
This is plagiarism. You should know better.
You tell it, mister.
Okay, so listen. This is Homestead. I might even have told you guys the story. I don't know. This is Homestead last November. Coming back from a week in Miami. We've already crowned Martin Truex as a champion. This is the Sunday night, early Monday morning, driving back to Huntersville, North Carolina. And I decided, you know what, I'm excited to start the off season, a little bit of free time before the Snowball Derby and peak winter. Want to get back to Cassie. So I'm driving. I'm going to drive straight to North Carolina, or at least get as far as I can. And I'm not worried about a hotel because I'm only going to sleep 5 or 6 hours, the bare minimum, and get right back on the road again. So I'm in this rental, and I drive to about an hour north of Daytona. That's how far I get. And it's 4:30 in the morning, and I'm feeling it. I'm about to start, swerving if I don't pull over right now. So I find myself it's a Home Depot parking lot right next to a car wash. And I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna park right here. I'm gonna pull over and fall asleep in this. It was a Jeep Compass.
Okay.
And I go to peel off the boots, which I've been wearing since 8 o'clock in the morning, so nearly 24 hours. And I go to peel off these boots, and they smell exactly like you think they would. After 20 hours, after 20 hours in the hot Miami sun, running back and forth from the Cup Garage to the media center and God knows where else. So I'm like, you know what? This ain't going to work. I'm not going to sleep with this stench in this rental Jeep. So I open the door right outside of this parking lot, and I take both of these boots, which are fairly new, by the way. I bought these boots a month prior, and I just set them right outside the door. This is in the very back of the parking lot. So there's no other vehicles. There's no other souls possibly nearby. And set them outside of this Jeep. And the Jeep is kind of tinted, so it's really hard to see that there is a human being sleeping inside of it unless you really, really look. And so I sleep for a good 6-7 hours inside this Jeep, and I wake up in the morning, and I finally start to decide I'm going to get up and start driving again. I open the door, and my boots are gone. Somebody around 8, 9, 10 in the morning had the wherewithal to walk by this Jeep Compass and see fairly newish boots sitting outside of a car and just jacks them. So meanwhile, I've got to drive.
Not only do they smell awful, they're actually really ugly boots. So I really don't know who took them.
So somebody's happy.
So what's uglier, the boots I was wearing or my current choice of shoelace fashion?
Your current ones. You got bad shoe problems.
All right.
This is funny.
I love it.
But listen, what makes this whole journey worse is that I'm still another, gosh, I don't know, that's another 6 hours or so from home. And, it makes the entire trip complicated because if you want to, get out and go inside for coffee, or if you want to go get some dinner at a fast food place or whatever, you can't walk inside now because you don't have boots. Yeah. So I actually, at one point, there was one more story I needed to file. So I actually stopped by a Starbucks and went through the drive-through to get my coffee, and then pulled into the front of the store and walked into the little outside dining area and sit there and then type my story with no damn shoes on. And so it just made the entire drive just stupid as hell.
It's funny, if you walk into a shoe store.
I hope someone's still wearing these damn boots. I hope they enjoyed
better
them.
Be.
I hope they got all the life out of them. I hope that you were a charity case and that I made your entire year. Otherwise, I hope you trip and fall on the shoes and break your ankle.
I hope they got athlete's foot.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. And you go into the shoe. Can you walk into a shoe store with no shoes on? Can they kick you out and you're like, look, how did the first person get shoes then? So we got to start somewhere. Here's the other thing. You might enjoy this one. So a coworker, PJ, shout out to PJ. He listens to the show sometimes. I think he said he's going to listen to this one. He has an iRacing rig in his basement that is it's the bee's knees. I'm trying to think of ways to describe it without using cuss words, and I'm having trouble.
The fucking bomb.
Yeah. It's
FUGGIN.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So it's got the steering wheel, it's got the pedals, it's got the gearbox, and he's got the VR headset, right? The Oculus Rift thing. And this is the first time I've ever put on Oculus Rift, and I put this thing on. And I'm expecting being able to look left and right. I forgot that it's also 3D. So you have your steering wheel shows up right here, and your virtual hands are on it, and the track is out here, and
that's crazy.
Yeah, and the you look left, and there's your pit crew, and I'm waving at them and stuff. It's nuts. So I'm like, all right, let's go. So I'm in the pits. I put it in first gear, and I slam into the wall. I said, okay, that won't do. My crew chief comes on and he says, your car's ruined, bringing it back down pit road. I'm like, I'm already there. I'm there, dude. I'm sorry.
You need spotter bread on your ways. You dumbass. Now we're lost. You wrecked your car.
Second time out, I made it to the track, and that's about as far as I made it. Then I immediately crashed again, right?
Because I'm Kevin LePaged it?
Well, I'm thinking, I'm thinking NASCAR, woo! And I stopped the gas, immediately turn it around, and I'm in the wall. And so I think we did Michigan, Atlanta, and then Bristol, and I turned a lap and a half at Bristol. But Weaver, I know you like to do the iRacing. How long did it take you to be able to turn 5 laps without completely ruining your car?
Listen, I'm still not there yet, and it's something that I really want to do. I really want to get really good at iRacing. I want to join a league. I'm sure everyone sees on Twitter the real big popular league, the Court League. That's something that I really want to do. But I'm so terrified that if I were to sit there and race against guys who are taking this seriously, I would be I think of a really good analogy. I would be the Bola Mastis of iRacing drivers. And, I don't want to be Bola Mastis doing Bola Mastis things.
I love it. I love it. Cassie, have you done any of that? So you said you sat down on the rig a couple times, right?
Yeah, okay, so I did. He had me sit down, and I didn't have a whole lot of confidence in myself. My skills are best exhibited at cruising exotica in an arcade. But I've played some of the NASCAR video games on the Segas back in the day, and this, I actually teased Matt because I was like, this has got to be a video game. This has got to be a video game. My brother Chris is really, really into this. He actually kicks ass. And so he's really into it too. And I'm like, it's a video game. Matt's like, no, it's a simulator. And my brother Chris is like, no. And he works for Team Penske. So he's like, no, it's a simulator. It's super serious. And I sit down, and sure enough, I mean, within seconds, Matt set me up on easy stuff, and I still hit the wall. I was able to make it work at Daytona, where, you kind of just make the same motion over and over and over again. So I was comfortable with that. I was sitting there smiling, not hitting walls.
Boom.
But it's tougher than it looks. It's tougher than it looks, for sure.
You know what? I know a driver who's really good at just turning laps at Daytona and never lifting. You would fit right on in.
There you go.
I'll leave that to the imagination.
I know. I want to know who are you talking about?
I'm digging it.
Oh, you know who I'm talking about.
You know.
I was trying to get you to say it.
So we talk about drivers like running out of talent, or they'll even say that. Yeah, I ran out of talent there or something. I ran out of talent in 12 inches. Like, that's how much talent I had to start the thing. So, but
hey, man, at least you got the 12.
Man, I was, and you, it was probably 4.
That's what she said.
Right. That's where I'm going with this. No. So, I sat there talking to PJ, and I said, PJ, I am now addicted to this thing. And he's like, dude, for like $300, you get steering wheel, gearbox, this setup, that's all this stuff. And I'm like, I can't do another hobby right now. Like, I'm saturated in hobbies, but I want this one now to be like I have to drop one now, so I can race.
Well, hopefully not this one.
No. Well, yeah, we're done, Sherwin. This is it. Last one, by the way.
Damn it. Well, it's good. It was a good peak for us. If that's the case.
Yeah.
We got to go jump off the cliff now. I could probably be happy.
Oh, with that, Sherwin, let's start tearing it down and get into the
actually get into the show sheet after 25 minutes.
We like to BS a little bit and then get into the show sheet, get into the report card. Here we go. Matt and Cassie, we do the report card every week, and each of these will give a grade. You can give it A through F. You can give it a number. You can give it a explanation. It doesn't really matter. None of this actually matters. But we present it in the report card format, and the first period is all about the race last week. Harvick, once again, I would say in a kind of a survival bout, took this win for his 5th win. But my first period is actually about Larson. Pre-inspection, Larson really making a run there, and we've given Chevy a lot of ish this year. Can we give Chevy a grade on this one as far as, hey, does this mean a comeback, or is this just a one-off thing, or is it because of cheating, which we'll get into here in a bit? But let's start with Weaver.
So here's the stat: with Larson losing his 20 championship points and 1 playoff point, having his encumbered finish, Chevrolet is yet to score a single playoff point since Austin Dillon won the Daytona 500. So
that's heavy.
Chevrolet is not back. Chevrolet hasn't been here with the new car at all. And I think it's just more of the same for them right now. They are really struggling with this new car. And I said all along that, we got to compare this to Toyota last year with the new Camry. And this is about the time that the Camry started to come to life. And it doesn't even look like Chevrolet is close.
Yeah. I think Kansas, we said last week, Sherwin, was where one of the Toyotas won. I think, was it Truex that won at Kansas last year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he swept Kansas last year.
Yes.
So, And that was the beginning of the turnaround. After that, it was Toyota 3 out of 4 races, it seemed like.
Yeah.
Every
Denny
month.
got 1, Kyle got 3 or 4, I think.
Yeah.
And then Truex, of course, won 8 down the stretch.
So, Cassie, do you have a grade for us on this one?
I would give it a B, but I do think it's really funny how everybody took that whole bit about what Martin Truex said out of context here recently about, the Fords are doing really well, and then last year everybody was talking about the Toyotas, so it's interesting to hear that and everybody talking about the cars. Of course, I learned a lot about that from Matt. I had that stat yet about Chevy, so that's really fascinating to me that no points have been earned since the Dillon win. That's wild.
Yeah.
Well, and even then, Daytona 500 was a complete crapshoot. So those points really don't count.
Mayhem.
They count, but they don't. There's no momentum factor to them.
Sure. Sherwin, where you at?
On Chevrolet,
Yeah,
it's still getting an F from me.
straight F.
Yeah.
I was gonna go with like a D+ here. That at least somebody is talking about it, and then Weaver totally deflated me with that stat. So I kind of go. I got to go back to an F.
Well, so if I look at
Ooh, you guys are tough.
I know. Well, I
pulled up the I pulled up the stats. We know Blaney wrecked early, but 2 Fords led 133 of the 267 laps. So half the race was led by a Ford.
right at half.
And Larson led 101 laps. And so I'll let you in case you didn't have a chance. I know you've been traveling and these guys been doing what they're doing, but I got a question asked on Door Bumper Clear this week. It was kind of like, is this, is Chevy back or is Larson just a special thing at Kansas?
Mm-hmm.
And they basically said, Larson's just a special thing at Kansas. Really?
Yeah. I sent you that question.
Yeah. I asked you to give it to me because I knew Rusty would ask a better question. I'm not trying to take credit for it. I'm trying to take credit from a PETM perspective.
There you go.
So, yeah, Rusty gave me a question that I asked him for me to ask that I thought might trigger Jason Schultz, who does the vetting for Door Bumper Clear. So, anyway, I think right now Chevy's still going to get a really bad grade until they have multiple cars lead laps the way the Fords did and the way the Toyotas did.
Okay. Let's go to second period. Mick Rose asks us at GoDucks42_Mick. He says, Harvick, Elliott, Boyer, Suarez, and now Larson have all been busted for those rear window infractions. Clearly it's an advantage because so many people are doing it. Is NASCAR going to make a rule change requiring stronger window braces or just continue to penalize teams each week? I was curious about that, so I did look this one up, and I can give section numbers and blah, 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 all these numbers and letters around them, but it's around the vehicle body and rear window support and structure in the 2018 rule book, saying something about the rear window not flush to the rear deck lid and the rear window support braces not keeping the rear window glass rigid in all directions. So it sounds like that rule is there in some capacity from what I'm reading, and maybe that's not 100% true, but that's what I'm reading there. But let's talk about let's grade NASCAR on how they're handling this penalty, and let's start with Cassie this time.
Okay, well that's tough because then Matt's going to probably contradict what I say, but
that's okay. He does it to us all the time. So.
Well, it's really interesting, just coming from my perspective, and not being as well versed in the history of it as he is I thought it was really interesting when they were trying to go for this advantage in the first place when this came up earlier in the season with Harvick, and that was really, really interesting. But to see this again and see some issue with that, I wonder. To me, you have to kind of reward ingenuity. So I see what NASCAR is doing, trying to cramp down on this. I understand it's a huge deal. I understand they don't want to tolerate this at all. But, when you force people to be in this little box and you want everybody to be the same, people, to me, are just trying to do something to get ahead. And, this is just NASCAR saying that this is not the way you're going to do it.
Mm-hmm. Weaver?
So this is tough because, traditionally throughout the history of the sport, NASCAR writes a rule book, and it's up to the teams to build a better mousetrap. Now, as the rules have begun to pile on, it's created, like Cassie said, a smaller box, and it's really hamstrung teams. And we're almost to the point, and this is problematic, we're almost to the point where, NASCAR should just start offering teams a NASCAR built spec car, IROC, and just say, if we don't want any degree of ingenuity, if we don't want any sort of technological work, then just issue the teams the cars, or at least treat it like IndyCar, where IndyCar truly does have a spec car, and there's just so little things that the teams can do with it. But conversely, these are the rules. NASCAR believes that this is the right direction to go to create the maximum entertainment product. They've got 40-ish teams and 40-ish sponsors and drivers and their fans to help them, encourage them to compete and be in the mix. And they all signed up for it. And if you know that these are the rules, it's your job to try to get right up to the tolerance without passing over it, and that should be commended. So when I almost feel like I'm speaking in circles. NASCAR has to do this. And if this is the rule book that NASCAR had written, and
you're struggling.
I'm not struggling. This is so complicated, and I feel like this is not something that you just glance over as a period almost. This is just NASCAR and teams going back and forth, and it's up to teams to do this, but it's also up to NASCAR to penalize them. Martin Truex had a really good point, and this is where it's a problem, that the perception is that everyone's cheating, and this is no different than PEDs in baseball or football, and that's just not the case. I wrote a column last year after the Richmond incident with Joey Logano that this is not cheating. This is competition. And I guess this is the point that I want to get at, that we've got to find a better way in the media to illustrate to all of the fans that this is just part of the sport. This isn't cheating. This isn't, teams trying to circumvent the rules. This is just competition. There are fans who think that racing should only be flag to flag, and the product that you see on TV is the only bit of competition there is. And they're flat wrong, because to those of us who are inside the sport, we know that competition starts on Monday at the shop and throughout the week when you unload at the track, practice sessions, qualifying, and you're continually trying to find something. And there's a reason why teams are going through inspection 3 or 4 times, because if they don't try, they're last, because these cars are so tightly wound together. And so now I'm going on this long rant, which I didn't want to do, but the simplest way to sum this up is this is the current state of NASCAR. If you're going to have a very tight rule book, you have to expect the teams to try, because they're trying to win, but at the same time, you have to expect NASCAR to clamp down on it, and they go back and forth. And it's complicated, and this will be my last point. It's complicated by the fact that unlike 20 years ago, when we just used templates that we dropped down on top of the car, we now have this super advanced, tint room with lasers that can measure things up to a fraction of an inch. And not only does NASCAR have that to be able to inspect the cars, a large majority of the teams and all of the contending teams have the exact same equipment as the sanctioning body. And this is a byproduct of it. When teams have access to the same tools and resources that the sanctioning body does, this is what happens. And so I just wish that we could do a better job collectively in the media of being able to tell fans and make them understand. And some of them are so hard-headed they won't understand anyway, that this is just a byproduct of competition. And there's nothing you can say or do to override the narrative. This is just part of the product.
Well, it's like, when dudes are fighting, there's like the unspoken rules. You don't kick between the legs, right? And in NASCAR, you don't mess with fuel, for example. That's cheating. That's like serious cheating. And to your point, this is competition, a different deal. For me, Sherwin, this is like the fender flares of 2018 or the weird pit guns of this year. And I think it's maybe going to continue to be a story for a little while, but we haven't talked about fender flares for a while. We have talked about pit guns because that was an interesting way to quote unquote solve the problem. So that one's still ongoing. So I guess maybe we'll see what it is. But one parallel I'll draw is in the software industry that I'm in, and especially if you're talking about IT security and high security stuff. People pay hackers. Most big corporations will pay hackers to come in and try to, kill their system somehow. and then tell them how they were able to get in there. Obviously not delete all their data and do it, but get up to the point where they could delete all the data. And I wonder if NASCAR could benefit from something like that, some sort of consulting that they could hire to, all right, put scrutiny against our rule book, talk to people and see what you can come up with. Maybe that's really what the teams are doing.
Well,
in essence.
let me interject. So
Please.
they've done that traditionally. Their current head of that department is Scott Miller.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Miller, who had been a crew chief for a long time and was always considered one of the more, crafty and more underrated crew chiefs. Before Scott Miller, it was Robin Pemberton, and everyone knows how creative Robin Pemberton was. He didn't get the sort of accolades that Ray Evernham got with the Rainbow Warriors and Jeff Gordon, but Robin Pemberton would be notorious for finding loopholes and ways around NASCAR's system. So if this is a matter of to catch a crook, you've got to hire a crook, with all due respect to the crew chiefs just called crooks. They have that. They have that in Scott Miller and the staff that he's put around him, because he knows all the tricks because he used to try to do it himself.
Well, there we go. Sure.
Yeah, I was trying to remember. I don't remember the guy's name, and it may have been either one of the two guys that you just mentioned, but it was like 1990 when NASCAR said, all right, we need somebody in competition who used to booger up our rule book.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when things sort of started to change. Like the things that the Smokey Unix of the world would get away with stopped happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember if that was Pemberton or if that was Miller or maybe it was somebody else. But that's when it sort of started to change. It was right around 1990. And I don't know. I mean, I don't have anything to add to that other than, you know what? When you see three other guys get caught, busted for the same infraction, and like you show up and you have the same deal go on, well, shame on you. I mean,
I'll give really, NASCAR an A, I guess, if I'm doing grading.
I'm fine.
Yeah, they're
with
doing
it.
fine.
And to answer the question, they've already said they're doubling down. Mm-hmm. So the next person that gets busted for a flexible rear window is going to get twice the points and twice the money and twice the races.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're going to see that again.
Yeah. That's gone with the wind at this point. Time for third period. We'll start with Cassie again, actually. The Supreme Court striking down a federal ban on sports betting, effectively opening the door, I'll say. We don't know what the long-term effect's going to be, but possibly opening the door for like on-track betting. So Cassie, let's give you the floor here. Good or bad for NASCAR? Give it a grade.
Well, this is really interesting to me because we talk about people cutting corners, and, I don't know if it's because I'm in news, but I always kind of look for sort of the nefarious side of things. And in this case, what's going to happen when people are betting tens of thousands of dollars and then maybe money switches hands behind the scenes to change outcomes, or something like that happens, that's dirty and changes things. And you worry about that in every sport. And, of course, betting exists behind the scenes and off the books in a lot of places and on the books and others already. But the thing that does scare me about it, I don't think it's necessarily an outright bad thing. I think we need to be careful with it, though, because when you really do have a ton of money riding on something, people change, people do things for that money, and, it could potentially change outcomes. We've seen this, accused in other levels of professional sports where somebody will throw a game or maybe, not go for the extra 2 points because they have money riding on it. And that is, it's a worry for me and knowing people who have those issues with gambling, but it could be another revenue generator. It could bring in new fans. You really just don't know how it's going to turn out. I was thinking about, the horse track, or around here we have a dog track, and people go and they hang out and they drink and they eat and they bet, and it adds a level of fun to them. So it could be good, but there could also be some very serious consequences. So I'm interested to see how this is handled in racing.
Yeah. Weaver.
So this is, I feel like it's a new frontier for all of us.
Yep.
I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it because, for one, I'm not a guy that has ever really bet or gambled, and I've never really participated in fantasy sports, which is kind of the diet version, obviously. But this is both an opportunity and it's also a potential disaster. for all the reasons that Cassie just stated, this is going to open up the door for scrutiny if NASCAR and their partner tracks do embrace this. As it stands right now, I don't think that motorsports is as acceptable as other sports are, just because the elements are so much more random than other ones. I mean, can you imagine trying to fix a restrictor plate race, for example?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to happen. It's already a gambler's nightmare as it is. But I tend to be a guy that looks at the positives, and I think that anytime that you can open the door for new fans to experience the sport and be invested, that's a good thing. To me, I don't think there's any surprise or any doubt that the rise in popularity of the NFL over the last 15, 20 years also coincided with the boom of the internet and fantasy sports. They went hand in hand.
Totally agree.
There are entire fields of work, people who make money, reporters who make their living on fantasy. And I think we could potentially see the same thing for gambling and motorsports. It's just, again, with any other sport, this is not exclusive to NASCAR, but every sport is going to have to be very careful that it's regulated properly and that they take every step to protect the integrity of their game.
Sure, when I think NASCAR, and I agree with a lot of what Weaver and Cassie have just said, for me, NASCAR, I feel like the way that it's set up with the stage racing now, with the fact that it's one of the few sports that is a constant action, always has action going on track. You know, there's no timeouts. I mean, there's cautions, but you know, we're going to pit during those, and there's going to be action during that. It's one of those sports that really lends itself to there being some sort of money on the line kind of thing, and I think that can spark, just as Weaver just said, a huge interest again. And I think we can try to figure out all the negatives, and if we go into this knowing that we need to head those negatives off at the pass and make sure that we protect the integrity of the sport, but also provide this way of getting more people in, I think I'm all for it. I'm a real big fan of this happening, so I couldn't wait to answer, because I'm like, yes, I want this, yes, that's great. And I'm not a huge gambler. I mean, me and Shorten have been to Vegas together and sitting there doing quarter blackjack.
Spent less than $100.
Yeah, so that we can sit there and drink beer for free and watch the NASCAR race while we're there. So yeah, I think it's great, and yes, we need to figure out those things, but that is. Another thing we say in software, that is a solved problem in other places, or maybe not a solved problem, but a problem that is has a lot of history that we can learn from.
Yeah, so if I look at what we're going into this weekend, we've got the second leg of the Triple Crown. Now, we know this is a much shorter race than what a NASCAR race is, but it's a race nonetheless. It's a race with ponies. And the whole premise around the weekend is betting on ponies.
Oh, yeah.
And Cassie had mentioned the dog tracks. I used to go to the dog tracks down near Selma.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a great time. Been down there 3 or 4 times. It was a great time. Ended up, they closed it. It was like a video casino / dog track. Mm-hmm. That's a fun deal. Nobody's getting hurt there. I mean, you could argue, I guess, maybe however they treat the animals, and you could say the same thing about horse racing, but a cup car is not an animal.
Sure.
So we can remove that aspect of the nefariousness from it. But, I mean, the amount of prop bets you could create out of a cup race would make it so much fun. And I just think that this is a great step. It's a great step to get, to your point, more people involved. So there are people that can get involved in sports that don't even like the sport. They just like the sport of betting.
Yes.
Like the betting is a sport for them. So you give them a chance. Maybe they live in McDonough, Georgia, and they didn't care about NASCAR at all. But now all of a sudden there's a pay window at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Mm-hmm. And they're like, and there's like a list of prop bets. And one of them's like, oh, that looks pretty cool. I'm going to go lay a yardstick on that.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stick around for 4 hours. Maybe I'll buy 6 or 8 beers.
Yes, all this. Yes, that's what I'm going for. This is why I love this idea. And I think that's we can get a lot more interest in the sport with that. I'm digging it. So with that, let's go on to fourth period. So I'm giving it A+, by the way.
Yeah.
Rusty's rare
100%.
A+.
Hashtag 100%.
fourth period, and very closely related with fifth period, we're going to talk about some rules stuff. The rules package released for the All-Star Race, 6-inch spoiler, restrictor plate at Charlotte, 2014 style splitter and aero ducts. They're saying it's similar to Indy Xfinity Series Indy race last year, meant to give that trailing car more aero. Give us a grade on that. Let's start with Weaver this time.
So I think it's going to work once for a place like Charlotte, mostly because the teams are going to roll into this place tomorrow. Well, I guess they're already there because outside of Furniture Row, they all live there. But they're going to arrive at the track, and NASCAR is going to basically provide the nose of the car and the parameters of the aero ducts. So they've had no time to prepare, no time to do R&D or research or any sort of testing. They're going in blind.
Yep.
And to me, I think of a couple of years ago when they first went to the super low downforce package that is just now our current low downforce package at Kentucky. And I am no fan of Kentucky. I hate that place, and they've made it even worse by repaving it. And now we're going to be doomed to more bad races there for the next 5 years. But that place was still fairly bumpy, and it was a bit of a mess to navigate a couple of years ago when they first came out with the low downforce package, and no teams have had time to really dissect it or analyze it. And that might have been one of the best start-to-finish mile-and-a-half races I have ever seen because teams didn't have a notebook on it. So I go back to what Brad Keselowski said a couple of weeks ago. He said exactly what I just said, that it will work once, and if you continue to do that same package at Kansas, Kentucky, Joliet, Texas, pick your mile and a half, the moment the teams are able to wrap their arms around it and figure it out, they'll make it boring. And it goes back to what I said earlier. This is their job. Their job is to make it boring. Each and every one of these teams want to make a snooze fest out of every single one of these races. They want to be, Jeff Gordon, 1998, Kevin Harvick, 2018, going out there and just, lay in a paddle. And so I think on Saturday or Sunday or whenever we run the show, weather permitting, I think we're going to see a good time. I do think this package is better suited for larger, flatter tracks. Indianapolis, I loved that race last year. And, I am no fan of the Xfinity Series at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But that was riveting, that was dynamic, and it was fun. And I think it'll work there more often than not. But, I don't think we're going to see it again on a intermediate track. So hopefully it's a good show on Saturday.
Yeah. Cassie, where you at on this one?
There's not a whole lot that I can add to what he just said, but I do think that any effort at all is really good. You got to try new things and mix it up and keep people interested. And, we'll see what happens.
I'm going to give it, I think, a C, Sherwin, because they're like, it's going to be just like Xfinity at Indy, and you're like, no, this is Cup at Charlotte. That's impossible. Like, are you serious? But I see where they're going, and the point being that trailing car gets more, can get more aero, and we've been talking about that forever. That's what needs to happen in order to have more competitiveness. If that works, great. If it doesn't, or if it's just some weird, it worked at Indy in Xfinity. Who knows what it's going to do in Cup? But they're trying something. We'll give them a C. We'll give them a passing grade here, and they can move on to the next test. But there's so many things, and here's the other reason for the C is there's so many other things that we keep talking about, and we not just us, but everybody keeps talking about what to do with the All-Star race and how to make it engaging. And one of the big ones that they did was a qualifying. And that they totally nailed. That's an A+, right? That is an entertaining thing to watch. Maybe a little less than an A+ because it's so freaking dangerous, but it's still, in my book, it's so cool to watch. But with so many options out there, this is what we went with. Okay, fine. You know what I mean?
Well, so
let me ask you guys. Let me ask you guys something though. Let's say it does work. Let's say that they put on a hell of a show, and you've got passing every other lap, and nobody can hold the lead because the car creates so much drag that you're a sitting duck. So basically, you're talking about Daytona and Talladega, which we already have Daytona and Talladega.
You mean Daytona and Talladega from 15 years ago?
What's that? Well, yeah, for
that's
sure.
Joey Logano.
You led the last 17 laps.
That type of racing, though. Do we want to live in a NASCAR world in which over half of your races are restrictor plate crapshoots where there is no semblance of competition or means for a team to just be faster and better, to where it's just a lottery ball? Is that the world that we want to live in, where 17 races a year are coin flip races?
Absolutely not. We will lose every one of our sponsors.
Good point. Good point on the sponsors. That said, 4 races right now are like that, and the way that you just described it, that nobody can. That everything you just said reminded me. We're gonna beat this horse again of tandem racing that I totally loved.
Tandem racing is awesome,
and was really cool to see 4 times a year. But no, to your point there. No, we don't want to see that. If this is a testing ground for the rest of what happens in NASCAR, and they have a nice little sip of it, and they like the way they feel, and now they drink the whole gallon of it, that could be a bad trip. So yeah, I understand where you're going.
Here's my fix. Here's my fix for the All-Star race. A bunch of us at Indianapolis were actually talking about this today, and about how much luster the All-Star race has lost over the last decade. That races like the All-Star race and the Budweiser shootout, or the Sprint Unlimited or Monster Energy shootout clash, or whatever we're calling the Daytona race. Now it's the Clash at Daytona. The problem with R2 exhibition races is that they're the exact same product that we're going to get the following week. You're going to get restrictor plate racing in the Daytona 500, so it's just a smaller field.
Yep.
The All-Star race could look different because of the plate, so at least it's going to feel different. So I'll give them credit for that. But the biggest problem with these 2 races is we're talking about trying to cut costs and trying to consolidate different elements of the sport. We've got 2 races that are completely superfluous and excessive. But this is my solution for the All-Star race, and I don't think anyone in NASCAR would ever go for it. But take them down to Bowman Gray Stadium. And listen, I'm a short track guy, and I don't even consider that place a real short track. I don't consider it a real racetrack. The racing that largely takes place there is ridiculous. But I think if you want to give a show that is completely unlike anything else in NASCAR National Touring, in a place that you can only fit a handful of cars, a handful of all-stars, truthfully, a 20-car field or whatever, where guys are beating and banging each other, and you're going to get some tempers and some emotion for $1 million, and you can only do it in front of about 20,000 fans. So you make that race feel really exclusive. It's going to be a hot ticket. It's going to be like the Super Bowl, to where you have to be really lucky to get in, and everyone knows that it's the must-see TV event of the summer. That is my solution for the All-Star race.
And it doesn't have to be the same every year either. I mean, next year do something else. Next year do something
Hickory.
else. And I thought it was interesting when the last time we talked, maybe not last time, but a couple times ago, that we talked with Tommy Joe, and he was talking about the logistics of what has to happen for a racetrack to host something. So even if it's not that, okay, we'll run them the opposite direction, or it's your time to do a gimmick and be forgiven for doing a gimmick. This is a total gimmick race. Oh, sure, it's the All-Star race. That's what we do. We wear our hats backwards and we do silly stuff, and we show up sober or something that time. Like, let's get crazy.
Hold on now.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So, Sherwin, I don't think you've talked yet.
To your point, we have a race car. We can do whatever we want with it. Like, literally, we could just dream up something and go, you know what? Let's do that instead. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be like our traditional product. To your point, run it backwards. Run it upside down. I don't care. Put square cinder blocks on it. I don't care. But just do something different that does not resemble anything that your weekly product looks like. That's what people want to see.
There you go. Figure 8 track, or one car has to tow another car.
Oh yeah, those ass to ass, or one guy breaks and one guy steers.
Oh yeah. That's crazy things. Why not? And watch. I think if you put cup cars in any of the silly stuff that you see on a Saturday night at your local track, that will draw everybody. Everybody wants to see that. Absolutely. So and maybe make it on a bigger stage kind of thing. Yeah, I'm in. So let's move on. You know what? Fifth period sucks. Let's just skip it. We're skipping school today.
Damn, skipped a period and I didn't get to talk. That's okay.
Oh no,
talk.
Sorry. No, I didn't mean to skip you.
No,
I was just skipping the class.
I was going to just offer an engineering perspective of when you do a DOE in the industry of science.
DOE. Tell me DOE.
A design of experiment.
Okay.
You have a controlled set of things that you change so that you understand why you learn something. If, to Weaver's point, if we learn on Saturday night that racing is exciting, they'll never know which change actually made that happen because they changed too many freaking things.
I see.
And is it going to be the fact that they put the green choose tire from last year on the right side? Is it going to be that they extended the splitter? Is it going to be that they extended the spoiler? Is it going to be the
restrictor plate?
Yeah. They're never going to know which one it did it. And, okay, so you could just say blanketly, oh, maybe it was all of it. Well, that's just not true. We know one of those variables moved the needle more than the others. But if you don't do a design of experiment, you'll never know which one actually had the biggest impact. It's just bad science.
It's bad. Okay, that's what I like is that summary at the end. It's bad science. What's the grade?
It's bad engineering by a group of people we generally respect as being really smart people.
True. And engineers. Yeah, totally. Can we skip class now?
Yes.
Awesome. Going straight to recess.
Yeah, we're going straight to happy hours.
There we go. Let's talk paint. Once again, Casey Kane decided to, his team decided to, hey, we'll come up with something for Darlington, but for the All-Star race, we're throwing the Dumont Jets back on it as a throwback for his 10th anniversary win at the All-Star race. And you sent me the picture, and the first thing I saw, Sherwin, was that the 9 had the feathers on the side. Look at these goosebumps coming. Yeah. That was really cool to me. I'm giving recess an A+. Sherwin brought the hat to commemorate as well with the feathered 9 on the side. Cassie, what do you think? Cassie fell asleep.
Uh-oh.
Oh, man. I think she ran off for something. Weaver, how about you?
What have you guys done?
I don't know.
See, I invite the girlfriend over for dinner, and I tell you guys to be respectful and to not make an ass of yourself, and then you guys just make me look bad.
Oh, man.
Hold on now. We haven't made you look bad at all.
Oh, yeah. Definitely the other way around.
I think you did that to yourself.
She texted me. She's texted me, and she told me she got disconnected, so she's trying to get her way back on.
Oh, okay.
10-4.
Cool.
10-4. Well, let's start with you. How about the paint scheme?
To answer your question about throwbacks, I was a little taken aback by the Kane car. There are elements of it that work for me. I think it's a cool-looking car, and it's cool to see the Evernham 9 again, for sure.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you one thing, though, talking about just throwbacks in general. There is a very cool thing coming out tomorrow from Sam Bass concerning the 24 car and William Byron and what they're going to do at Darlington, and that's going to be cool. And maybe I say that because I'm an old-school Jeff Gordon fan, and I think the world of Sam Bass. But I think that when you look at some of the Darlington cars that are coming out, there are some cool throwback ideas that are going to be used for the All-Star race, the 6 car for Matt Kenseth.
Yep.
And also the cars coming up for the Southern 500. So I'm a sucker for throwback cars, and this year it's looking really good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I agree. I'm excited.
You throw the name Sam Bass out there, and I'll start perking up and sniffing. Hey, what was that about Sam Bass? So, yeah.
Well, it may have taken us, maybe halfway through the last decade before we really were like, oh, yeah, I can appreciate what Jeff Gordon is. And then especially going all the way back. You start following the career forward. And
then you become a fan.
And then you just become a fan.
Yeah.
Especially when you find out that he grew up in the same hometown as your dad, which is me.
Yeah.
You start to, especially when your dad's like, all right, I'll read the paper when Jeff Gordon does well.
Yeah.
He's from where I'm from, and my dad doesn't give a damn about racing. But, like, when you can find a way to bond with your dad in a place that you never could bond before, like, it starts to change your perspective.
Absolutely. Oh, that's great. We'll get on to the
Have
question.
you guys had Sam on the show?
No, I've been
have not.
trying to. It's all behind the scenes. I need to call his. He's got an assistant, and I just hadn't reached out to that person yet. But yeah,
I'll reach out to Sam. I'll let Sam know because I know Sam a good bit, and I think that would be a great show. You guys and Sam together. Ooh,
My man.
cool. Well, we would definitely appreciate it.
Yeah. We'll go fourth wall on that one and say, let us know. With that, let's go to the questions. I like this question from Andrew Cantian at KHANTZIAN, and we got two questions from the two guys who have their names mispronounced the most. So I hope I get them both right.
True.
I got one. I'm 1 for 1. In the theme of that Supreme Court decision on the sports betting, the over/under. He's given us an over/under, and he gave us a hook, which I love it. You got to give a hook. He said 9.5 winners at the end of the regular season. Are you over or are you under, Matt Weaver, on the 9.5 winners at the end of the regular season?
give me just a minute. I'm troubleshooting.
Troubleshooting. Okay.
Understood. So we'll go
Sure.
ahead.
Yeah, I'll go. I'm taking the over. We have 6 right now. We have 14 to go, and we've got some tracks that are, like road course
We
stuff.
got Pocono. We got Infineon. We got
Yep.
Excuse me. I said Infineon.
Oh, sorry,
Sonoma.
Sonoma.
My
Yep,
apologies.
yep.
Sonoma Speedway.
Bring it back.
Raceway, Speedway. We also have Watkins Glen,
Yep.
which tends to be you don't win there but once kind of place.
Yep.
Now that Tony
Now
and Jeff are gone.
I was going to say now here's the crazy parts about the road course races, because I'm thinking, all right, who are the big contenders there? And I'm like, well, Kyle Busch, well, he's already won a race. Clint Boyer, well, he's won a race. So
Well, that's what we were talking about a couple weeks ago. It's like when you look at the race winners at Sonoma, like it's not an accident.
right.
Everybody, we looked at, if you throw Juan Pablo out, out
Yeah,
of the
the one.
pile
Oh,
when
yeah.
he was a rookie, everybody that's won at Sonoma in the last 10 years has won at least like 10 or 12 cup races.
Yeah.
Like they're rock star.
Yeah,
like,
they're not
for real
road course
racer
ringers.
guys.
They are racing
They're
ringers.
racers.
Yeah. So so I can go back and forth on that, and I think we have the top guys have won, but the people who haven't
We also
won,
have Michigan, which gets crazy weird because they always change the package, and then they always change the tire because they're messing because Goodyear's up there.
Yep. So I'm going with the over. That means we need 4 more winners. And now that becomes a much greater question, because now I got to name 4 people who can win.
How many races have we run? 12?
12. We got 14 left.
14 races to get 4 more new winners.
Yep. It feels
That
like
does seem like a lot.
feels like you gotta be able to, but then again, who are those for?
You got Pocono and Indy.
Are you allowed to name Chevy drivers right now? I'm not sure I'm
I don't
allowed
even
to
know
yet.
Well, if you so if we said over the course of the next 14 races, if Ford and Toyota keep up their pace, they should probably win 10 of those 14, right?
Sure.
So those 4 are left up to maybe Chevys. Who are the people that are going to win those races?
Maybe. I mean, it's got to be Jimmy and
It's gotta be
Chase,
Jimmy and Chase
Larson.
and Larson.
Yeah.
Right? Because those are the only 3 Chevys.
And we're throwing a bone
that
at
are
all
really-
of them. Jimmy
those
hasn't
are
been
the ones that are really going to be capable of winning based
Right,
on equipment
right.
and like team strength.
And we're talking about Jimmy hasn't been relevant in the winner's circle in a little while. Chase has never been in the winner's circle, and Larson just cheated. Sorry, Matt.
There's no cheating in racing. There's 3 cheating. There is fuel, there are tires, and there is engine. Otherwise, it's just competition.
I hear you.
I love that question. I'm still going with the over. Weaver, are you done troubleshooting yet?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to make this work out.
Oh, bummer. Okay. Well, we'll thank Cassie in the end. We'll thank her again later for coming on, and we'll definitely have her on again. But all right, give us your over under 9.5 total winners at the end of the regular season.
Ooh, that is tough. And I listened to you guys a little bit there at the end, so I got a general idea of what direction we're going here. So I'm going to do it this way. Out of the guys who have not won yet, and I'll list it, and I'll see where we end up at the end. I do think that Jimmy's going to get a win somewhere. I just have a hard time believing that Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus are not going to either drive, engineer, or strategize their way to a win before the end of the year. I have a hard time believing that. But, all good things must come to an end. And, we never would have thought that a Jeff Gordon type run could come to an end and kind of plateau as well. So I think we're seeing that same story play out. But I think it's going to happen. I think Chase Elliott's going to get a win. I think Larson's going to get a win. Those three are the three that are obvious. I think Eric Almirola has been so close all year.
And so to be clear, we're talking about regular season, by the way, with 14 races to go and with all that competition. So, in those last 10 races,
right.
If we add on the last 10 races, I think totally over. We could totally see Jimmy or Chase or somebody taking on, especially if they're not in the chase or in the playoffs, rather. I've gotten rid of the word Chase, and then I just thought of Chase Elliott again, and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, just making sure we had that caveat in mind.
Oh, yeah, I'm talking regular season. I think we're going to see those four drivers race their way into an automatic berth.
Okay, yeah. So that gives three more. You just named three, which would give us 9, so you're at the under. Where are you at?
I'm going to give you one more, though, the 11. I think the 11 team is going to get it, too.
Okay. Well, you say we'll love it. I'm not sure I'll love that, but I like I like that you gave us 4. So you gave us the over. Sherwin, talk to me. Did you already tell us?
Well, no. I mean, we talked about it. I think the 48's definitely going to win. I just said on the YouTube that I would bet a body part that he would. I think it would be.
I think the 11 will win. I think Weaver's. Exactly. That's a great.
I think it's
point.
Impossible to assume that the 11 wouldn't win a race.
Right.
Like go to double negative route.
Yeah.
Like I think the 11's going to win. I mean, obviously it's a good race car driver. Don't like him, but he's a good race car driver, good team, and I don't know. I mean, if we're talking about Chase, and then if we start to bring William Byron and 88 driver Bowman,
yeah.
If we bring him into the fold, then we have to bring Suarez in the fold too.
Yeah,
and kind of say,
so
all right,
if you
if
say
any of those three guys,
if you pull them together,
of winning, one of those guys is probably going to win. I would think. I really don't think it's going to be Byron or Bowman, just because of the whole Chevy thing. I think Suarez stands a better chance.
Ooh, interesting. Because I would pick
because of the Yoda factor.
I would probably pick William Byron before Suarez, but you make a good point on manufacturer there.
Well, and I think one thing we have to remember is when you start looking at those points, and we talked about this, I think we talked about this last week, maybe we talked about it outside of the realm of the audio file that is this podcast, is that Chase, like if you put his penalty points back in, he's ahead of everybody in that category of guys that you think are going to win that haven't. Mm-hmm. So there's that piece of the puzzle too. I don't know. I think you're right. I think Hamlin, Jimmy. I don't think. I mean, Kenseth isn't a thing. They're just trying to figure out how to make that car run faster. Yep. Stenhouse is going to have a chance at Daytona in July.
Okay. Yeah.
Because he's so good at plate racing. But I don't know.
Going for the over?
I want to go for the over because the over is more fun. So just like I said, prop betting at the track would be more fun if we can have a gambling booth. I'm going to go the over, and I don't care who the people are that win because the over is more fun.
If Andrew had said...
Don't forget the 2.
Oh, good point.
That's right.
Don't
forget hasn't won yet.
If Andrew Cansian had said...
Neither has the 12, by the way.
If he had said...
this year.
A good point. If he'd have said 10.5, I wonder where I'd be. Because Weaver, you'd have to name another one.
That would be an easier bet. I would say under on...
Oh, okay.
10.5
so
would be under.
We know where we stand. Which means you're excluding the 12 and you're excluding one, or you're only saying one of the...
I'm thinking Jimmy, Brad, Blaney, and...
Hamlin.
There
we go.
And so give me the over on 10.
7.9/10. That would be the under on the 10 then. Because we only have 6 right now.
But Cansian gave us 9.5.
Yes. Saying the same thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, great question.
Digression.
Andrew Cansian, I love that. William Soki at William SOQUET says, if you had to pick one current K&N or ARCA prospect to be in the Cup Series 5 to 10 years from now, who would it be? He said Todd Gilliland and Harrison Burton don't count in his book because he He thinks
essentially
they
already
count kind of his truck guys at this
Yeah.
point. I'm going to do some self-serving stuff here and say if Jesse Iwuji can make it happen on the track, he's doing everything else right. He is an American hero. He brings the diversity factor. He is everything you want
Well-spoken.
in a driver. And interviews fantastically as we have done on the show. That would be my pick out of them. That would be a shoe-in if he can keep the results up. So there's my answer, Jesse Iwuji. And I wish I had put on a shirt today. So Weaver, your answer.
I would be a great boxer with my flamboyant and ridiculous attitude and and temperament, but I can't box. I can't fight.
He can't. Where did that
and
come
he just
from?
stops.
And he
just stops talking. All right. I don't know. I guess I'll just say.
Okay. I say that. I say that only because that God bless Jesse Iwuji, really, but you got to drive a race car.
Oh,
and
I
you've
agree.
got to be able to get it done on the racetrack. And so I mad respect for what the guy has done off the track, but I've just seen so many near disasters. I hear that answer, and I cringe a little bit because I've seen a lot of near disasters on the racetrack.
I get that. The question, I hate to ask this question: do you have to have the results like that? If you have the backing, if you have the accolades, I'm just trying to answer the question here that William Soki's asking. But yep. I won't
to get the cup or national touring.
Let's see what it says. He says Cup Series. So maybe I didn't.
Yeah. So
yeah. You make a good point.
There's still a sanctity for the Cup Series, and there are some guys who don't have Cup Series talent to be elite drivers, even when given elite cars. But for the most part, you still have to be able to keep it straight and stay out of the way and be competent at the Cup Series level. And so I still think that, for the most part, that has been preserved. But we've digressed a little bit. There are so many really good talents who are currently in ARCA and K&N. And the frustrating part is the guys who are obvious shoe-ins to be cup-level drivers, if given the right opportunity and right funding, don't have a ride. And this is going to be me standing on a box a little bit here, on a diatribe. But to me, it's just an absolute shame that Austin Terrio.
That's the name I was going to bring up.
Damn.
He's your reigning ARCA champion. And even another former ARCA champion, Mason Mitchell, who is the total package for a race car driver. He has won on the track. He has gotten the job done as a driver, great personality, tons of charisma, and has proven that he does belong in a national touring setting. That's another guy that comes to mind, and it's just frustrating to me that we live in a world where he doesn't have a ride. Caden Lapovich, the Canadian Pinty Series champion from 2 years ago, is yet another guy who just done everything he was supposed to do on the track, has the right personality, hasn't gotten it done. So that's just me kind of lamenting the fact that, the system is just so flawed and frustrating right now. But with that being said, the NASCAR Next list came out earlier this week, and I think that was a great spotlight for what the sport has coming in the future.
I saw a lot of ish.
Haley Deegan.
I was going to say I saw a lot of ish given to the NASCAR Next program.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought a lot of that was kind of unfounded because I've watched a lot of these guys race and gal. I've watched them race, and it's a really good list. And I wrote about it earlier this week, too. I think Haley Deegan has the potential to be a transcendent figure in the same way that in many ways without the results that Danica Patrick was, or the way that, Jeff Gordon was in the 90s because of the way that he just brought a different market, or the way that even Bubba Wallace can be if he can start to get the results together too. And it's not just because of her gender, but also because of her family background. So I'm not making this a male versus female driver thing. She has a pedigree from action sports, which is a market that NASCAR is desperately trying to tap into. Monster Energy is trying to bring in some of that flair, with Supercross being a big partner of theirs. She came from an off-road X Games family. So I think you combine that with the fact that she is a female. She is a girl. And as she grows and becomes a better, more competent stock car driver, she can really become transcendent. And I think she's got a good mind for it. I talked to her yesterday, and I think the results are starting to come in K&N. Like, she's finished top 10 in every race this year. So if she can maintain that level of competition, she could be a star.
I don't think the criticisms I think the criticisms I saw were a classic case of they weren't hating the player, they were hating the game. It was more, let's not let NASCAR decide. Let's let the people decide. But who's going to be NASCAR next? But I thought that was interesting, and certainly I haven't seen anybody criticize the particular people chosen, but rather the fact that it's chosen by NASCAR. I don't know.
Well, it's their marketing power behind it. I mean, that's the whole thing is, and I don't necessarily disagree with you. What the criticism I'm
not sure I agree or disagree with me. I'm laying out what I saw.
You're just saying. You're just saying. Yeah, it's not an opinion. It's just this is something that I saw.
Yeah.
I mean, what I saw was that people were upset that they think that this is more of a marketing ploy than it is an actual talent ploy. Like, the results don't necessarily match the marketability. And I would say to that, welcome to NASCAR for the last 20 years.
Well, and that's why I said it would you earlier.
Have you not been watching? This is what NASCAR is. Now, this is not to belittle any of these people that are in this program or any of the people that didn't make the program. This is what it is. Let's now operate in this space, and let's see if any of these people could actually make it, because we've had, like, graduates of NASCAR Next. Like, we have 5 or 6 of them already in the Cup Series from the last half a decade.
Sure.
Like, we got Blaney, we got Bubba, and I can't remember, Eric Jones was in it. Like, it's working. I mean, to a degree, it's absolutely working.
Eric Jones was from the Kyle Busch deal, right? In a way.
Yeah, but he was in NASCAR Next. What I'm saying is the program that NASCAR is promoting,
I'm trying to think.
It's working. These people are getting to Cup rides.
Blaney has, the nepotism factor. Like, some of these were maybe going to happen anyway. I'm playing devil's advocate here. I'm not trying to.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, but
be a poopy face to you.
Doesn't NASCAR have to play devil's advocate too? Though?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or don't they have to go? What's going to make us the most money and give us the best amount of attention? And I mean, I was surprised that we only saw one, like, non-white face and one female face. That I'm like, the people that are getting all upset about who made that final cut ought to be looking at that and going, obviously NASCAR is not making all their decisions based on what's marketable.
Sure.
Because it's not that diverse of a crowd of kids.
Keep in mind there was a media vote too.
Yeah.
Did you vote?
I was one of the participants, yeah.
Oh, sweet. Okay. So it's not all bunk. We forgot to actually make a vote on this thing.
I knew that you voted because I saw that you said that, because I knew you had come back against some of the folks who were like, oh, this is all bullspit and it's all marketing. Like, well, no, I voted, and I'm pretty happy with this crop of kids. We're going to see how they race.
That's great. I love it.
Yeah, so just some background there. NASCAR gave us a list of 100 drivers that the industry had kind of collaborated on, and they were drivers from all walks of life. We're talking about dirt, late model, modified, and sprint car drivers, asphalt, super late model, modified tour drivers, off-road racers, rally racers, anyone that the industry thought had a degree of talent and or marketability and an interest in potentially making the transition to chase a Cup Series career eventually. So it was about 100 drivers, and we were sent the list, and we were asked to vote 1 to 10 if we thought they had what it took to make the Cup, and if we didn't know who they were, we would click NA for like not available. And those results were tallied, and it was then dissected amongst a group of industry insiders, the NASCAR Cup Series Drivers Council, and it was debated, and these were the 9 that was selected based on the voting process.
Awesome.
Sounds good to me.
That's cool to get the background on that too, because and everybody who has an issue with it ought to be listening now, and they won't. But no, that's
some of them
great to have. Sherwin, let's move on. Let's go to this week, and we've already kind of gassed it up a bit and talked about Charlotte. So let's go ahead and jump right into the picks, and we'll have. Here we go. There we go. We got Junior ready.
Junior hollering
getting us ready. Yep, there it is. With that, let's do our picks for this weekend. Let's give our guest of honor the first dibs here. Weaver, do you have a pick for this weekend?
So first, a preface: I've got to run as soon as I make this pick.
Yes, sir.
I got some stories I got to write tonight. But let me tell you something. This is something that I usually reserve for Daytona and Talladega, because those are so unpredictable, and I'm going to use random.org.
Okay,
and let that do the pick for me. I typically do those for Daytona and Talladega, so let me log on here, go to random.org.
So
awesome.
While you're doing that, Sherwin, my random.org pick, because I totally agree with Weaver in that this is random, and the fact that when it's random that I get to pick a guy that I really want to win, I'm picking Casey Kane, of course. And he's got the feathered 9. He's got the car with the jet thing and all that. Shoot, give me a chance to pick him, and I'm going to pick him. Dadgummit. So there's my pick for the All-Star race. Where are you at, Sherwin?
Well, I'm gonna pick the guy that seems to be the most guileful in these races.
Guileful, okay.
That where maybe a little strategy and a little smarts, a little intelligence, a little willing to take a chance on a strategy may pay off better than anywhere else. So I'm going to pick Brad Keselowski to win this race.
Cool. Love it.
And Paul Wolf, really. So I'm giving Paul Wolf about 60%, Brad about 40%.
I like it. And Weaver, I believe that random.org is based on like some weird like quantum noise or something. I've tried to look up how they do it before, and it's always above my head scientifically on how they pick random numbers. So this is truly random is what I'm trying to say here. So what's the random?
Yeah, it truly is. It is based on mathematic, probability.
Yeah.
And so this is good, by the way. This is good who random.org has given me to win the All-Star race, and I support this because this would be a great story. It gave me the number 6.
Wow. I love it.
Well, number 6 is not in the race, so he's going to have to race his way in through the showdown.
But I like it.
No. Is he not in?
I don't think
he's not.
I don't think he's automatically in.
Let's look it up.
What would be the reason that he would be in?
Lineup.
He's never that driver hadn't won in.
Former champion.
Is that a condition? That may be a condition.
I have no idea. It changes so often.
Right.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong, Walter. Or Matt, as it turns out.
He is in. He's in already. Yep.
Because he won. Oh, he won the All-Star race in the last 10 years as a driver.
Maybe that's it. I'm not sure, but he's definitely in.
Okay.
So the number 6 is in. In the
Matt Kenseth is in. The number 6 is not. But
in the
he
Do You Know Jack
Ford?
The hashtag Do You Know Jack Ford. So,
oh my God, is this like Ask Jeeves from 12 years ago?
I don't know.
Well, it is a paint scheme from 20 years ago.
Well, there you
that's
go.
right. That black with the orange and yellow fiery 6.
Well,
so it literally is from that old. It's the same car that Mark drove, the Do You Know Jack paint scheme.
Oh, did you see the spat? Speaking of, I know you got to go. Sorry. This is how podcasting goes. Did you see the spat between Levine Family Racing and Roush? Because they were like saying that Roush copied them on doing a throwback, but Roush was like, no, we did this like 15 years ago. So,
crap.
How about you flip that coin?
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
I like it. I like the beef. Weaver, why don't you? We know you got to go, so tell the folks what's going on, where they can find you, and all that stuff. And everybody, stick around. We got the Stranger Stang still coming up, and we'll close out after that.
Yeah, it's the usual places. You guys know me, Matt Weaver AW on Twitter, Matt Weaver Motorsports on Facebook, AutoWeek.com, ShortTrackScene.com, and traversing the globe one racetrack at a time.
My man.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for joining. Tell Cassie thank you, and we'll definitely give her the accolades here in a moment. And we'll talk to you soon, Mr. PhD or PTM PhD Matt Weaver. Thanks, man.
Matt, you going to be at Michigan?
Yes, I am.
All right. Well, I'm going to be there with Brandon Crow from Lap Traffic.
10-4. Talk to you guys there.
Okay.
See you, man.
Yep.
All right, y'all. It is time for the Stranger Stang.
Ruh-roh.
I know. Here it goes. She said name 3 things. That would be tough for me to do. So let's just do a 1-and-1.
Okay.
It's name something you'll never be able to do, and then name something that you think you're really good at, but nobody else thinks so. I've still got to think about the second part of that. The first part of that I think I've got. So something that you'll never be able to do, or for me it's something that I'm not gonna do. Like, so I do all this. I do crazy stuff, y'all. Like we talked about flying planes and stuff. We do this crazy hiking. Me and the wife do with 1,000-foot drops on either side, and so I'm fairly fearless on that side. But I'm not gonna ride motorcycles. Like, that's something that I'm intrigued by. I think it's cool. I would love to maybe try it one time, but like that, I don't think that's something I could get into. So that's my thing that I'm not going to be able to do. Sure, when you're making faces.
So I can do nothing but be a copycat, because the only thing I prepared as my one of the 3 was motorcycles are out. Like, I've already done all the other dangerous things. I've ridden horses, I've ridden snowmobiles, and I've been me.
I've jumped out of planes.
I've not jumped out of planes. I'm not doing bungee jumping. I'm just saying motorcycles, I've decided for sure, are out.
I think maybe us being in college and seeing guys who came back to the house, like, who had just laid it over, and we're
on the interstate at 70 miles an hour.
Yes. And we're like, no, I'm not, no.
Why was that fun? Again?
Right. Or even more mundane.
Because you can buy a fast car, and, like, even if you mess that thing up, you don't get injured, really.
Or even more mundane is the guy who's just sitting at the stoplight and gets hit from the rear at 15 miles an hour, which is essentially 0, and gets completely wrecked.
Ben Roethlisberger?
Yeah.
Anybody?
Yes, exactly.
Almost cost him his career.
Right. Just sitting at a stoplight and just get fender bendered, and in a motorcycle that means death. Like, oof. And I've got family that does motorcycles, and I totally. I feel like I get the idea of it, like the open road, the air, all that. I want that, but I can't bring myself to do that. So.
I want to get back on a horse. I have no desire to learn how to ride a motorcycle.
Yeah. I want to go skydiving again. I want to. I haven't been bungee jumping, but I will be bungee jumping at some point in my life, and probably soon. But I'm not going to be a motorcycle guy. Something that you think you're really good at, but nobody else thinks so. I don't know. That's hard, dude.
See, I don't think it's tough.
The things that I'm good at, I think people know. So it would have to be something mundane, like I can spin a pen on my finger. Like, I'm really good at that.
Oh, that debate thing?
Yeah. Well, I can't do the back and forth. I can't do like all through all the fingers.
No, the one we just spin.
I can just
the same direction every time.
The one direction every time. I've got that down, and you're not going to
nobody can deny you're good at it. Like, right. If you can do it, you can do it.
Exactly. So, but I don't get props for it. Nobody's like, "Whoa,
I was
dude,
thinking," and then maybe I stole this from Ashley because she gave me hers.
Okay,
I'm like, I don't think I'm really good at singing, but like, I think I'm pretty good at singing. Like,
there you go.
Like, I don't mean like I have a great voice. I mean like I'm good at karaoke.
Yeah.
Like having fun with it, getting the crowd into
Absolutely.
it.
I think we'll close with this one. Jumpy Bob just said, great full circle. He said, I'm not eating pumpkin curry.
To hell with pumpkin curry. There ain't no damn way.
With that, y'all, let's close this thing out. We want to thank Cassie and Matt for joining, and especially we got to get Cassie back on and get her.
Yeah,
to,
that was a bad finish.
Yeah, it was a bummer that
she had a DNF.
yeah, the DNF. She crashed out like on lap 140 of 280 or something. So. We'll definitely have to have her back on. She was an absolute blast. She was a blast with Weaver, calling him out on his bullcrap.
Oh, that was fun. That was fun.
I love it.
He had to own up.
I love it. So, Sherwin, tell everybody where they can find us and what's going on.
Oh, my goodness. I read a whole paragraph here, right?
Right.
So, PETM Podcast on the Twitter and the Instagram. We're at PETM Podcast in both places. Rusty is at Tailgate Mayor. Sherwin's at Pregame Engineer. And on the Twitter there and on the Instagram, I am Andrew L. Sherwin. Our website is www.petmpodcast.com. You can email us at petm@petmpodcast.com. And last but not least,
look out.
Please go on down there if you're listening via iTunes and give us a rating and a review. We would love for you to do that. It helps us out. It helps us move up the list on the sporting podcast list. So maybe more people will see what we are doing. Next week, we're having a great guest from the front office at Pocono Raceway.
Look out. I love it. We will talk to y'all next week. It's going to be a blast. It has been a blast. What can I say? Sherwin said it all. Thank y'all. Whoop, whoop. There it is.
Woo! Nelly!
That's a 1.5 hour show this time. I feel like maybe we should get better at doing 1 hour, but I also feel like, boy, do we just it's the last 30 like scroll through the first hour and listen to those last 30 minutes.
Well, it's like, you see these guys that are paying attention live, and they're like, okay, so 90 minutes is actually pretty fun.
Yeah, we're having fun.
Well, that's good. I mean, as long as it's good stuff, I think the length is probably, I agree with you. Maybe every now and then we mix one in there that's only 60 minutes, but lately they just seem to be stretching themselves out without our even meaning to.
Without trying. Thank you, everybody on the YouTube, for following along, having fun.
YouTubers, you guys rock. Thank you so much.
Yes, track number 147. The year is 2018. The genre is NASCAR and racing, and the comments are in there. So with that, y'all, we're going to shut down the YouTuber. This will be up on the iTunes and everything else here shortly, and we've had an absolute blast with everybody. And the comments that come in and the fact that y'all are having fun talking, I love it. I love it. And every once in a while I get to look over there and see things like the pumpkin curry. That was a perfect, Jumpy Bob, that was a perfect full circle, like all the way around to the What You Drinking segment that happened, if this show was 90
70
minutes.
minutes later,
right.
75 minutes later.
Yeah, I was going to say like 84 minutes probably.
Yeah, easily.
That was perfect. Great bookend for the whole thing. Love it. Love y'all. We'll talk to y'all next week.
Skew!